Sudan. Humanitarian crisis looms as fighting in Sudan shows no signs of stopping. The people of Sudan are facing an uncertain and terrifying future as violence and unrest grip the country, leaving many without access to basic necessities like food, water, and medical care. UN aid chief calls for a 3-day ceasefire in Sudan for Eid al-Fitr holiday. Ceasefire would allow trapped civilians to escape and access medical treatment, food, and essential supplies. Leaders of rival forces refused to negotiate with each other in separate interviews with Al Jazeera. Army Chief and Rapid Support Forces, RSF, leaders comments dim hopes of ceasefire. Death toll surpasses 300, according to WHO. UNICEF says fighting in Sudan has taken a devastating toll on children. Amnesty International says conflict is exacerbating the plight of civilians in the Darfur region. 70% of hospitals in the capital and neighboring states are out of service, according to Doctors Union. Refugees arriving in Chad are entire families, according to the UN. Laura Lecastro, representative of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees in Chad, witnessed this on a mission to the border with West Darfur. The refugees are carrying as many mattresses as they can and have fled multiple times. Local authorities say refugees cannot stay for more than 2 weeks. Plans are being made to house refugees in refugee camps and provide humanitarian aid quickly with the help of UNICEF and the World Food Programme. Sudan's army chief receives phone calls from various foreign officials, including the US, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt. All parties urged for an end to the violence and a return to dialogue. The UN Secretary General, as well as the leaders of South Sudan and Ethiopia, also made calls for peace. The army statement reported the various phone calls. Al Jazeera's reporter in Khartoum says the capital is waiting for an initiative to save the situation from violent confrontations during Eid night. An initiative called the National Force Initiative, led by civil party leaders, has communicated with the two leaders of the conflict and obtained preliminary approval for a truce on Eid. The truce is conditional on some notes that will be studied to formulate a comprehensive agreement during Eid al-Fitr. Thomas Okadi, NRC area manager in El Fasher, Darfur, says fighting has been ongoing for 6 days, and he is holed up in a guest house with colleagues. More than 900,000 displaced people in North Darfur have not yet received assistance, and looting is rampant. It is still dangerous to be out there, as a vehicle that relocated some staff was carjacked. The situation is dehumanizing and unbearable for the urban poor in the slums of El Fasher and IDPs in North Darfur. Urgent mobilization of safety, access, and resources is needed for the people of Sudan. Ali Bashir of the Sudanese Medical Association calls for safe humanitarian corridors to transport the sick and clear the streets of corpses. The situation is extremely complex due to a fragile health system. There is a big shortage of blood bags, and people cannot come to donate blood due to unsafe roads. Islamic Relief's country director in Sudan says it's a sad Eid for people in Sudan and there's nothing to celebrate right now. Families are trapped at home, unable to move around without risking their lives. Many of the poorest families face an Eid with barely anything to eat. Those who can flee are scrambling to leave Khartoum and get to safer rural villages. There is no sign of when the violence will end, but they pray for a real ceasefire for Eid. Former British diplomat Nicholas Kay warns that if there is no ceasefire during Eid, the situation in Sudan could lead to one of the most dangerous wars in the region. The situation in Sudan concerns the entire region as 46 million Sudanese are suffering now. Kay stresses the importance of agreeing to a 3-day ceasefire for humanitarian purposes during Eid al-Fitr. Clashes are still ongoing around the presidential palace in Khartoum, according to Al Jazeera's Haytham Await. Former U.S. Ambassador to Sudan Timothy Carney suggests that the best possibility currently is to achieve a truce, at least for the Eid period. Carney also proposes threatening the victor of the conflict with sanctions if there is no transition to civil authority in Sudan and using the African Union to put pressure on both sides. Another option is to impose peacekeeping forces through the Security Council's use of Chapter 7. Ukraine. Explosion in center of Belgorod, Russia creates impressive crater. Switzerland adds paramilitary group Wagner and Russian news agency RIA Fan to list of sanctions in the context of Ukraine war. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg visits Kiev for the first time since the beginning of the Russian invasion, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urges alliance to integrate Ukraine into its ranks and provide more weapons to fight Russia. Russia conducting suspected espionage program in northern European waters using several dozen military and civilian ships for reconnaissance and possible sabotage actions according to Nordic public television documentary.